So maybe I'm the only one that can relate to this, but NBA basketball is always better when the Los Angeles Lakers are contending for a championship. And this team has went through a lot of roller coaster events throughout the season. And I'm not just talking about ups and downs. I'm talking about bringing in a new head coach, bringing in a new superstar that's going to be the face of your franchise for the next 7 to 10 years. But with all that happening, this team still went out and won 50 games. The Los Angeles Lakers are currently 50-31 going into the playoffs, and they've locked up the 3rd seed. And over the next couple of years, we would have never known what the Los Angeles Lakers could have looked like if they did not have Luka Doncic. You have LeBron James, who's 40 years old, Anthony Davis, who is 32 years old, and no picks around it and no really promising young talent around that either. And in this episode of At the Buzzer Sports, we're going to be talking about how dangerous the Los Angeles Lakers can be, but we all know how dangerous they can be on the offensive side of the ball, with Luka Doncic being one of the best scorers and playmakers in the NBA when healthy, LeBron James being one of the greatest offensive players the league has ever seen and still dominating at the age of 40, and Austin Reeves taking the insurgence that he has made, averaging 25-5 and being one of the best offensive third options in the entire NBA. We're going to be talking about the defense and how the Los Angeles Lakers have constantly shown up in big games and made superstars really struggle. Against the Denver Nuggets, when they won in blowout fashion and Luka Doncic had his first 30-point game with the Los Angeles Lakers, they accumulated 20 turnovers against the Denver Nuggets and made the offense very tough for them. When Luka Doncic returned to the Dallas Mavericks arena, they forced Anthony Davis to have 4 turnovers in a very bad game as well. And even against the Oklahoma City Thunder, they held J-Dub to 4 of 14 from the field, and SGA still had a really good game, but the process was tougher for SGA than a lot of other teams could give him. And I give a lot of this credit to JJ Redick. JJ Redick has constantly shown that he can get better as a head coach, from the beginning of the year being very questionable with some of his defensive rotations to some of his defensive schemes and having a really good offensive scheme, to the end of the year having really good defensive schemes and some of his offensive schemes being a little questionable. But what head coach can really say in their first year, hey, I had LeBron James and Anthony Davis, started the year with them, and then I finished the year with Luka Doncic and LeBron James and having a top 10 offense in the NBA. So this right here is earlier in the season where the Lakers were running a switch everything type of scheme where every single thing was getting switched, every single action. And it really pissed me off in this game because you saw a lot of moments where Max Christie's guarding Wemby, Rui's guarding Wemby, Dalton Knecht is guarding Wemby, and Anthony Davis, which made me just as mad, he's not at the rim. This team is not a good rebounding team. They weren't a good rebounding team last year. They weren't a good transition defense last year. And having Anthony Davis, your rim protector and your primary rebounder, away from the rim as much led to a lot of second chance points. So if we take a look here, we're going to take a look. Devin Vassell is going to get the ball here. And once again, Anthony Davis is way too high in the action. So Devin Vassell is going to be creating up top, and he's not in the play. The paint is free reign when Anthony Davis is not in the play. So once again, things like that happen, and now Anthony Davis has to collapse on the rim and be late to try and get an offensive rebound, making it much tougher for him, and Victor Wembanyama gets the finish. Now let's take a look at another one where Anthony Davis starts off against Victor Wembanyama. That's not the thing I'm worried about. If you want to have Rui guarding Wemby, no problem. But if you're not going to have AD on Wemby, have him around the rim. Like if you're already not going to have Anthony Davis on Wemby, have him around the rim so we can secure rebounds and have better rim protection. The problem I have is Anthony Davis being on the perimeter and being taken out of the paint where he is best at. So if we take a look here, they're going to, well, by the time we're in this game, I think we were in the first quarter. This is when they realized they're switching everything. They're switching everything. Let's go back just a little bit. You have Max Christie on Chris Paul. There's no shooter dangerous enough to where you have to instantly switch this. Now Anthony Davis is taken out of the play, and Victor Wembanyama, now mind you, Victor Wembanyama does not get the ball here. He does not get the ball. But the fact that you have such a mismatch advantage down low with a 7'4" Victor Wembanyama and Anthony Davis isn't in the paint, look at what Austin Reeves is going to do right here. Look at Austin Reeves. He's going to collapse on Wemby, leaving a wide open Devin Vassell in the corner, and he's going to knock that down. That's not, I don't know if this was the best defensive game plan to have, because in the end of the day, Victor Wembanyama is attracting Austin Reeves here, which leads to the wide open three. And even then, if Devin Vassell doesn't shoot this, the Lakers are in a rotation game, which they already weren't good at this point of the year either. And this is back when the Lakers were bottom 15 in defense. This was a team that was more inclined on offense than they were on defense. And I felt as though some of the schemes had really made that so. And once they got out of the switch everything type of lineups, I feel as though they got a lot better on defense. But for majority of the season, or majority of the portion they had with Anthony Davis, this was their defensive scheme. And then on February 1st, the news breaks that they're going to be trading for Luka Doncic. And Luka Doncic being on this team without Anthony Davis, the first thought is the front court rotation is going to be awful with Jackson Hayes, Christian Wood, and eventually Alex Len. And I said this on the Hoop Talk podcast with Mars. Make sure you guys go subscribe to that. We just had a phenomenal video predicting the NBA awards. So if you guys want to get my opinion on NBA awards, you guys can go over there. But my first thought was this defense is going to be awful. This defense is going to be awful, but the offensive ceiling is going to be phenomenal. And you can see here in the first game, or not even the first game, maybe I think Luka's second or third game with the Los Angeles Lakers going up against the Charlotte Hornets, towards the end of the game, LaMelo Ball was getting whatever he wanted. As you can see, LaMelo Ball is going to be moving off ball for a three here, and the communication is just not good. Gabe Vincent gets lost here on LaMelo Ball because that's his assignment. And then once they set the screen for him to come off the perimeter, LeBron James is late. So is Dalton Connect. So the second LaMelo Ball gets it off the catch here, he's going to go up with it. By the way, it's the fourth quarter. The Lakers are down 3, and LaMelo had a really good fourth quarter. He's going to shoot this ball. He's going to go straight in. This is off of the communication. Gabe Vincent should not be getting lost like this, but in the end of the day, if we look at the five that's on the floor, you have Alex Len, LeBron James, Gabe Vincent, Rui Hachimura, and Dalton Connect. This is not the personnel that you would want defensively in a closing lineup like this. And when you think about rebuilding a team or building a good defense around Luka Doncic, if we take a look at what the Dallas Mavericks did last year, add some point of attack defenders with guys like Quentin Grimes, have some guys that can defend wings like guys like PJ Washington, even Najee Marshall who came in, and having some rim protecting bigs and lob catching bigs with guys like Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford. And the Lakers looked like they were going to be doing that. They sat down with Luka Doncic and they were like, look, what are the things that you need so we can help build the ceiling of this team to be a championship level team? And the Lakers went out and they got Mark Williams via trade right before the trade deadline, and they ended up rescinding it. So the Los Angeles Lakers were going into this rest of the season with Jackson Hayes as their starting center. And once that trade got rescinded, we're like, you know what? This may not be the Lakers' year because the defense just may not be that good to the point where they may not be able to get to a conference finals or get to an NBA finals. And then the game against the Nuggets happened, and we all know. So one of the things that I noticed with this game is the Los Angeles Lakers did everything possible to keep the ball out of Nikola Jokic's hands. And that means having a body attached to him even prior to getting to the half-court line, because we want to make Jokic as uncomfortable as possible and keep him away from his spots where we know he can be most effective, which is the middle of the floor, which is right by the block, which is right around the rim. So having a body attached to him, denying the ball from him constantly, if you take a look at the pressure that Vando's putting on Nikola Jokic, which once again, the Lakers were taking advantage of Nikola Jokic having one of the worst whistles in the NBA, but this is something you could see in a playoff setting, teams being a lot more physical with him. So Vando's going to be attached to him before he even crosses half court, forcing Nikola Jokic to just get the ball out of his hands early. And with Julian Strawther just not being aware of how active Jared Vanderbilt is to the ball is going to cause a turnover. Even off the very first possession of the game, you can tell like the Lakers had Rui Hachimura and LeBron James guarding Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic. I'm pointing at my screen like you guys can see my finger and you guys can see who I'm pointing at. So they had LeBron James here guarding Jamal Murray and Rui Hachimura guarding Nikola Jokic. And I'm going to show you why. So we all know that Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic run a DHO very actively. These two guys connect a lot on their offensive possessions. So when Jamal Murray makes a break to try and run through these screens and get an open shot from Nikola Jokic, the Lakers understand that they're going to have their timing perfected to even be able to contest a shot like this because you have two really good screeners in Aaron Gordon and Nikola Jokic. So instead of LeBron trying to chase that through, okay, cool. We're going to switch immediately and we're going to keep a body on Jokic while contesting this shot from Jamal Murray, and it ends up in a miss. This is also a place where I feel like the Lakers are going to thrive. When you have multiple guys on the floor who are not going to be necessarily worried about as a shooter, then the Lakers are going to take advantage of that. Ever since the Lakers have started this defensive run, might I add, The Lakers have been really helping on the strong side where the ball is and helping off of shooters. Gabe Vincent is not going to be hugging Christian Brown on the perimeter. LeBron James is not going to be hugging Zeke Naji on the perimeter. So when you have players like this who cannot space the floor, once again, Jordan Goodwin, not hugging Russell Westbrook on the perimeter. He's more hugging Nikola Jokic to deny him the ball. So if we take a look, they're going to constantly keep a body on Jokic, whether it's one or two players. Russell Westbrook is going to get anything he wants. He's going to get anything he wants. So when they play the pick and roll, Rui Hachimura is still hugging Jokic, and LeBron's going to be the low man. You see Zeke Naji right here had to step in just a little bit so he can have a better cutting angle to the rim instead of LeBron James just being 3 to 5 feet away from him. So they're still hugging Jokic, and they're going to let Westbrook shoot these shots. If Westbrook takes 10 threes and he makes one of them, fine. If he makes 7 out of the 10 threes, fine. We live with that because that's not something that's going to happen in a 7-game series. So he's going to take this open shot, and he's going to miss. The Lakers live with that. Now, they gave up the offensive rebound. We're not going to talk about that, though. Now, before we get started with this film session, I just want to say that a lot of this is due to some of the incredible shot making from SGA. Even with this game plan, I think we executed very well. SGA still had a really good game. I think he had 26 points on 50% from the field. So the tough shot making from SGA was phenomenal, but you would rather him do that than get to the rim consistently. So we're going to see Rui Hachimura guarding SGA here. And SGA, he almost gets the angle every single time. Every single time we see SGA try and drive to the rim, he gets to the angle. But this is why playing gaps are so important, because Jackson Hayes is around the nail. So is Luka. LeBron's on the block. Austin Reeves is also around the nail. So the second it looks like SGA is going to get that driving lane, Austin Reeves is shuffling over to stop the driving lane. So once Austin Reeves does that, he's going to show LeBron James is going to pick up the restricted area to try and stop Hartenstein, and Austin Reeves is going to show. He's going to keep showing until SGA decides to pull back to the perimeter. This is stopping driving lanes consistently. And as you guys can see right here, there's 3 seconds left in the shot clock. So SGA is going to have to force a tough shot here. He's going to have to force a tough 3, and it doesn't fall. So that's another really good possession. Here we're going to have another favorable matchup for SGA being guarded one-on-one by Luka Doncic. This is something that the Lakers or whatever team that's going to be going up against the Los Angeles Lakers are going to be wanting to get. They're going to want to get Luka Doncic in space against their best perimeter defender. It's going to happen almost every single play. They're going to be hunting for Luka Doncic. But against SGA, once again, the Thunder don't have a lot of shooters that you are necessarily worried about. Like, I think Cason Wallace is probably going to get some space in the playoffs. Even Lou Dort might, even though I think Lou Dort has improved as a shooter, I still think teams are going to help off of him and dare him to shoot. But SGA gets the matchup against Luka Doncic. Lou Dort is trying to seal off Dorian Finney-Smith because we're in the second quarter now. I think the Thunder have picked up on what the Lakers are trying to do. So they're trying to seal off Dorian Finney-Smith so SGA can get this driving lane. And Luka Doncic concedes the driving lane, but here is Dorian Finney-Smith showing and recovering, so SGA has to do a sidestep into a tough mid-range shot where he kicks out his foot. They call a foul, and the foul is actually overturned. So this was a positive defensive possession. And last but not least, here's another possession where SGA is going to be getting a screen from Isaiah Hartenstein, and he's going to try and get the driving lane. Once again, SGA creates a lane to get to the rim every single time he gets the ball. So that's why Rui Hachimura is going to be hugging SGA and helping to cut off those driving lanes. Austin Reeves does a pretty good job taking away the driving lane here and forcing SGA to spin off and take a tough mid-range shot. But this was basically all game. SGA was making tough shots all game, and we were preventing him from getting to the rim in some really good possessions that I appreciate, but SGA is just such a really good shot maker that those shots go in. But once again, this goes back to process over outcomes, things that I've been saying on this channel for multiple months now. And finally, against Anthony Davis, where they were walling off Anthony Davis and having a low man there at the same time to make entry passes very tough on him. Because once again, the Dallas Mavericks really don't have a lot of guys that can make high leverage entry passes consistently. And this was kind of the same thing against Nikola Jokic, where they were fronting him and denying him the ball in the post, but they weren't hugging Anthony Davis from beyond the half court line the way they were hugging Nikola Jokic. So they were more set up and more just trying to deny him the ball in the post. The Lakers were trying to deny Nikola Jokic the ball for the entire game. So I'm going to show you a possession after this where they did a pretty good job of just denying Anthony Davis the ball, which he ends up getting the ball here, but the process, once again, the process. And the difference between the way they guarded Jokic and the way they're guarding Anthony Davis is, once again, they're not denying him the ball every single possession. So if we take a look, Anthony Davis, he has the ball on the perimeter, or he's asking for the ball on the perimeter. This is fine. This is completely fine. Anthony Davis being on the perimeter, dealing with a tough shot, not being able to make the reads that Nikola Jokic makes, this is completely fine. So did I stretch it a little bit when I said the Lakers could be the best playoff offense or playoff defense? Yeah, maybe just a little bit. But I do think we should recognize the adjustments JJ Redick has made as a coach defensively and how well the Lakers have shown up and executed their scheme against some of the best teams. And if this can go on in the playoffs, I think the Lakers have a really good shot of going to the Western Conference Finals or maybe even the NBA Finals. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys like this type of content, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate everybody showing up and subscribing, liking the video, and things of that nature. The playoffs are right around the corner, so we are going to be making videos about every single playoff series once those playoff series are ready. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. And with all that being said, you guys have a great day. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe on your way out, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.